Good morning, and this morning I want to address questions from 3 commenters in particular and a general drift of comments. Charlie Hagar, I think that's how you pronounce it, Charlie. Hi, by the way, I work with Charlie at Kingfisher in Brighton. Thanks for tuning in and good to see your comments. Charlie Hagar suggested that the waterproof outside double socket, along with Tony Young and Super Sparks and a welter of others who implied the same thing, the twin and earth shouldn't be exposed outside to sunlight. This is the position of that double socket. I am readdressing that in a way that I'll show you, but I just wanted to show you where this twin and earth is. It's tucked behind here, so it's never going to receive any direct sunlight. And so that was partially my thinking. But Charlie came up with quite a good point, which I didn't actually think, which was that the water could drip down the twin and earth because of the way I'd got it and go and enter the building. So I am readdressing that. Tony Young and Super Sparks were both concerned that I should have put rear entry. I think that you both said do rear entry on that unit. Now the reason I don't do rear entry on those waterproof units, but this particular one, I will show you. It is completely watertight and there are no holes entering the electrical compartment at all, because the screws go through their own pockets, which I showed you before I put it in. So the screws are completely independent. The screw holes have their own pockets, waterproof pockets. There's nothing there. It's just the. Can you see? So I'm not having to put screws through the back of this, so I don't need to pierce the rear of it at all. Coming in from below means that no water will enter this. Now, I guess like all of you, I've taken apart outside sockets like that and found them full of snails and water and bits of leaves and all sorts that somehow get in from the holes at the rear, which people drill in them to get the cables into them. So that's the reason I'm doing as if I was using conduit. I'm going in from the bottom because no water can go upwards. I've shielded the twin and earth from ultraviolet, and I'm just putting them up now. And as you can see, there's a loop now, so any water will not drip into there, and I'm going to seal this with a good amount of silicone in there as well. So thanks Charlie, thanks Tony, and thanks Super Sparks. That'll get done, and then we'll move on to the rest of the building and do second fix on it, which will be the next part of this video. The problem with answering questions at the beginning of the next video is that you don't really know. The people watching the video before, who also see all the shortcomings and want to comment on them, when sometimes they've been corrected, they still comment, you know, on the video because they haven't seen the following video. But there we are, not much I can do about that. Steve Richardson asked why the earth rod here. It's quite a simple reason. I don't want to, and I haven't got permission to extend the DNO's earth this far from the building, which is over there. I don't have permission to do that, and so I'm installing my own earth. It's quite common to do this. The CPC and the earth sheathing of the armour coming out here are earthed by the house DNO's earthing system. It's then completely isolated from anything further on by going into this box here. As you can see, it's not joined on. The CPC's that grey wire there, that's doing nothing. But that just protects the cable as far as here. So I won't dwell on that. And I think Brian Kelly is why the DIN rail. So if you go to video 85 or video 100, one of them is called DIY proofing a consumer unit, and the consumer unit in that house with the big DIN rail and the Wago connectors, the Wago DIN rail terminal blocks, which by the way they're manufactured in Poland. They're not readily available in this country without a full order of 25 units of each one, so they cost many hundreds of pounds. Are manufactured in Poland. They're called Series 2102. Which is the one that goes 10 meters. It's 2116. And the of the item, it's 502, 504, 507 for the 507 more sensitive radio full contact earth unit. The blue here is actually 210524, and so it's up to 10 meters, like 16 I believe. Up to 10 meters and blue 5204. It's not this blue colour, it's actually different material which has extra qualities, so it's more sensitive to the grey ones. Put the lever, so that's whether you want to put it into there, and a push button which you can push down with the screwdriver to this terminal here. And you get with a terminal at the top there, so it's £5. So I have spent several £100s on that DIN rail. And certify all that, and then the other sparks would do the final circuits. As it turned out, slight mix and match happened, but it was a lot easier to connect. The other thing is, the consumer unit got put in before we knew exactly what circuits were going to be in the house, so we needed a bit of latitude either way, and the big thick cables that came in and the massive cables just meant it was a lot neater to do that. So hopefully that has finally answered your question, Brian, on why that is. I've written in the comments quite extensively about the reasons for that enclosure. one of my lights didn't have a socket on it. So I've just been into Cities to go and get some sockets and back boxes, and I went to get bulbs and I forgot the bulbs, the G10s and the vintage lights for the pendants there, which is pretty annoying because it's another trip. But I also got a Square D, one of these things. It said it's got these kind of bull horns, so I'm going to try and prise that off and see what's underneath it. Maybe some of you know how these things work, but I've not come across them before. Square D, it's an American. Oh, there we go. So yeah, you can unscrew the bull horns from here. I suspected as much. I mean, I suspected that that bit came off, and then this bit, I don't know what that's for at all, but there's your 20 amp, which is what's going to serve this building. So I don't need to change the consumer unit in the garage.
Come out of the oven.
Oh.
It might be a bit warm. Can I put the chair
Thank you very much, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I love the hanging ones.
Yeah, they've been like vintage,
Yeah.
vintage filament bulbs, big ones.
Really nice. Perfect. It's going to make a nice desk, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. It is. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I love the hanging ones.
Yeah, they've been like vintage,
Yeah.
vintage filament bulbs, big ones.
Really nice. Perfect. It's going to make a nice desk, isn't it?
Yeah.